It's Pyram King, and I'm super excited to bring another guide to Curse of Strahd. This one is Yester Hill, and this one is taking some time. It was initially going to be 2 separate guides, but I've decided to put it into one big epic guide. DM Andy just finished the last map for this. I put it all together, and we've got 5 gorgeous battle maps. We got Theater of the Mind maps. We got some voice acting, some lore. It's epic. I'm really excited to bring this one to you. But before I get started, a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. It's your support that allows me to put these detailed video guides together, and we have just surpassed this month 500 Patreon supporters. I'm just blown away. I just can't believe it. So a huge thank you to you. Now, if you are a Patreon supporter at the PDF level, a Patreon Traveler supporter, everything in this video, you don't have to take any notes. I've put it all together in a nice PDF for you. There's a token pack. There's also all of my voice acting sound files for you to enjoy. Now, if you're supporting me at the Adventurer level, that's the Foundry level in Patreon, everything you see in this video is a Foundry module. You can just install it and enjoy it, including your names right here. Here's all the Patreon members at the Foundry level. Your name is in the credits here. Big thank you to all of these Patreon members. They're great. We have a great Discord community. People are sharing their ideas, helping one another, their own artwork. So these are all these great Patreon members making this dream of this epic journey of Curse of Strahd become reality. So huge shout out, big thank you to you. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon member, supporting me on this epic journey, and you want access to those PDF sound files or those Foundry adventure modules, you can. There's a link down below to patreon.com/Pyram King. Now, there's 3 special thank yous out there I need to give, and you know who those are probably. DM Andy. Now, DM Andy and I have been on this epic journey together. We're constantly working together. He's creating all these gorgeous battle maps that you see here in this game. He is gracious enough to allow us to include a WebP version in the Foundry Adventure module. That's right, a free WebP version of all these maps. Everything you see in the screen is already built into Foundry for you. Now, if you're looking for grid versions, you're looking for 4K, 8K, night, day, or different weather effects, DM Andy has those available on his Patreon page. So if you're playing on a tabletop, or maybe you're playing on Roll20 or another, or even on Foundry and you want a higher resolution or a different weather effect, they're all available over there on DM Andy's Patreon page. Go ahead and check that out. There's a link in the description down below to his page. In addition, James RPG Art, who does the gorgeous matte digital painting I use for Theater of the Mind for Curse of Strahd, he is gracious enough to allow us to include the WebP versions in Foundry as well as this video. But if you want those in high resolution or animated ones, and I highly recommend the animated ones, I'm a Patreon member of his as well. If I was playing at a tabletop, I'd have my big TV set up with the animated versions of these. It really pulls you into the game. Check those out. They're on James RPG Art's Patreon page. There's a link in the description below. Last but not least, what makes all of this come alive, especially for our Foundry adventurers, is Blair and Scene Packer module. Blair is a developer developing modules for Foundry. He develops Scene Packer that allows us to put all of this into one package. You simply download it, push a button, and boom, it's all installed into Foundry, and away you go in enjoying this particular guide in Foundry. If you're interested in making your own adventures for Foundry, check out Blair's Scene Packer module. There's a link to his Patreon down below. Now, both DM Andy and Blair are on our Discord channel, along with a lot of the Patreon members, sharing ideas, helping each other. Stop by, say hello, say thank you to Blair and DM Andy, who are gracious enough to make all of this happen for us. They're on there all the time. So let's jump into it. I'm really excited to bring this guide to you. We're going to start off, as I usually do, talking about lore, and we're going to look at this beautiful Theater of the Mind map that we have here. This is Yester Hill. From the perspective as you're approaching the hill, this is a Druid burial mound, and this is a Theater of the Mind map developed by James RPG Art. Now, I did something in here with some lightning special effects using Monk's active tile triggers. I made a special Foundry tip on how I did this. I'll put a link down below, but you just click this over here and oh, how cool is that? So let's talk a little bit about the lore. And why is lore important in my mind? Well, it helps you as the dungeon master give context, root, meaning and framework. And while not all of it might be translated to your players, the better that you understand it as a dungeon master, the easier it is for you to ad-lib and run things on the fly and on the scene. And for me, the most important thing about lore is the context of why. Why are the people behaving this way? Why does this place exist? Why is this connected to the rest of the campaign? Those are the things I always like to address because it gets me as a dungeon master far more comfortable when I'm playing in the game to be able to ad-lib or to deal with things as they arise. So we're going to talk a little bit here first about the history and the lore of this area and how it fits into the entire campaign as a whole. So we're going to start off with the Druid history. Who are these Druids? Well, the Druids were the first people. They were actually the descendants of the Usari people, known as mountain folk. By the way, Usari is a Balkan Romani word that means bear handler or leader of bear. And so the mountain people that first came to the valley thousands of years ago, moved up to the mountains, obviously with bears and hunting bears. And it was the Usari who first created the Druids, which were more of a religious order that recognizes the relationship between nature, the Fae, and the villagers' roles, the humans' roles, in keeping this balance and this harmony in nature. And it was the Usari and the Druids that built the first stone circles, the 3 Fae shrines, and worshipped the Fanes. Now, over time, the Druids actually kind of became their own collective organization. Even though they're descendants of the Usari from thousands of years ago, the Druids actually spread throughout Barovia. And when we saw more settlements in Kresk and Vallaki, the Druids were kind of the religious leaders there. They brought the harmony between the nature and the people and the Fae. And this went on for centuries with no problems. That was until about 700-800 years ago when the first kings came. So when the first kings came to Barovia, they brought with them their own religion, the religion of the Morning Lord. They built walls around the cities of Kresk and Vallaki. They built churches and started praying to the Morning Lord, and they looked upon the Druids as kind of pagans and outsiders. And so the villagers began to embrace the Morning Lord, and the Druids became outcast and moved off into the forest. And well, the people of Vallaki and Kresk and the villagers kind of separated ways, and the Druids went off to live in the forest. And everything seemed to be okay, and that was until the Great War when Strahd came. Strahd, in the Great War, you're talking about 400 years ago when Strahd came and took over Barovia before he became a vampire. Now, the Druids kept to themselves. They didn't care about what was going on with the kings or Strahd. It wasn't their business. You remember, they were ostracized by the people. That was until Strahd imprisoned the Water Fae at Castle Ravenloft. The Druids rose up, and the Druids at the time had the ability to shapeshift. They could shapeshift into animals, and they thought themselves fairly powerful. So they marched on Ravenloft to rescue their Fae, the Water Fae, who was imprisoned by Strahd, not realizing how powerful Strahd was, and he struck them down. He slaughtered the Druids, and the Druids fled into the forest. And then he cursed the Druids, and he cursed them by removing their ability to shapeshift. So the remaining Druids fled into the forest, and then Strahd sent his minions out to desecrate the Fae shrines, hunt down the 2 remaining Fae, and try to find the powerful Fae gems. So the Druids fled. Now, over time, the Druids congregated, and they decided to move as far away from Strahd and Ravenloft as they could, and they moved to the southwest valley of Barovia to where Yester Hill is. Now, Yester Hill is important for 2 reasons for the Druids. First, at the top of Yester Hill was the Mountain Fae Shrine. It's the stone circle to pay homage to the Mountain Fae that was desecrated by Strahd. But even before then, Yester Hill has an important significance to the Druid because it was their burial mound for thousands of years. So again, when they were first the Druids, the mountain people, this became this historic pagan, very, very sacred site to the Druids where they buried the Druid people. For the ancestors of the Druid are all buried in Yester Hill. So they went there. That became their refuge. That became their place of safety. Now, what happened is the Fae are gone. The stone circles are desecrated. Strahd has slaughtered a lot of them, and they've lost their ability to shapeshift. the Druid turned to their more ancient traditions and they planted a Fey tree. Now, Fey trees are magical trees. They were there long before the humans there, and they knew that if they planted a Fey tree on the top of Yester Hill, which is a burial mound, the roots would penetrate into the old burial mound and hopefully tap into one of the ancient spirits that would manifest itself in the tree and hopefully lead the Druids to salvation. They are without leadership. The Fey are gone. They are a lost people, and they've been ostracized and alone from the villagers. So they plant this tree, this again, 400 years ago when Strahd took over the valley. And over time, that tree grew. That Fey tree grew on top of Yester Hill, and the roots dug down, and it did find an ancestor. Unfortunately, the ancestor it found was a Druid that died 1,000 years ago. And that Druid had been alive during the reign of the Dark Powers. Now, if you remember, the Fey and the Druids had captured the Dark Powers and imprisoned them in the Amber Temple in the Amber. Well, this is one of the Druids that, didn't do so well. He was actually corrupted by the Dark Powers. He had become a vampire. The Druids had captured him and staked him through the heart, killing him and burying him in Yester Hill. Well, that Fey tree's roots found that stake, and that stake that killed that Druid vampire 1,000 years ago still possesses some of that vampiric dark power, as well as some of the spirit of that ancient vampire, which manifests itself in the tree. And that ancient Druid's name was Gulthias. And so the tree manifested this spirit, this vampiric spirit of an ancient Druid named Gulthias, and spoke to the Druids and said, I am this ancestor Gulthias. I will help seek vengeance against those that have oppressed you, and brought hope, a renewed hope to the people. Gulthias asked, however, the Druids, you're going to need to make sacrifices in order for me to have the kind of power to protect you and lead you forward and protect nature and destroy the Dark Lord and the evilness that man and war have brought. Now, Gulthias also has a spell that the Druids aren't aware of, and he's cast this kind of illusionary spell. So the Druids' moral compass has been bent. They started making sacrifices. The blood of those sacrifices dripped into the burial mound of Yester Hill, and a heart at the bottom of the tree, of the Gulthias tree, underneath the mound started to grow. And as the heart grew, in vampiric in nature, it needed more blood, and the Druids made more and more sacrifices as a means to an end. They justified doing this in order to not only to survive, but to thrive and hopefully defeat the Dark Lord. What they don't realize is Gulthias has a different intention. He is after all, a vampire, even though he is a Druid. Gulthias's tree grew in time, and its roots grew further and further over the centuries, and it was his roots that had grown out and felt and located the Fey gem underneath the Wizards of Wine. Gulthias the tree ordered the Druids to go get the Fey gem, built a Wicker Man, and put the Fey gem in the Wicker Man and perform a ritual to bring the Wicker Man to life. And Gulthias, after the Wicker Man was animated through the Fey gem, Gulthias would transform itself from the tree into the Wicker Man, giving Gulthias, this vampire spirit, the ability to walk and roam along Barovia again. Because Gulthias for centuries has been trapped in this tree, and Gulthias sees being stuck in this tree on this burial mound for centuries as kind of a prison. So that's where we are today. The Druids have found the Fey gem. They've built this Wicker Man. They're going through the ritual to animate the Wicker Man. Gulthias, with its heart beating underneath the mound, is ready, once that Wicker Man is ready, to transfer its mind, its heart, and its spirit into this Wicker Man and roam throughout. And who knows what kind of damage it will do if Gulthias' spirit escapes into this Wicker Man and wreaks havoc throughout Barovia. You've got another vampire, 1,000-year-old vampire now, in the form of a Wicker Man. So that's kind of giving you the history and where we are right now. So let's jump into this and talk about the first map and how the players get here and what transpires. The first map that we're going to get to for the players here is the Druid Forest. It's a beautiful map by DM Andy. And let's talk a little bit about the Druid Forest. This map is the first encounter that the players are going to have when they move south from the winery. And they're going to be coming down this road right here. And the forest is kind of unsettling. It's peaceful, yet there's some strange feeling that's underneath the surface. These effigies are hanging in the trees. There's some druid shrines throughout the forest lit by candles. I'll zoom in and let you see some of those. DM Andy did a fabulous job. These are all lit up through Foundry, so we've got these druid shrines throughout the forest, these effigies hanging in the tree. Now, I imagine if you've ever watched one of those Viking shows where the Vikings are going up to the temple to worship Odin and Valhalla, this is sort of like that. It's unsettling. It's different. It's pagan in nature. What's really happening here is Gulthias' roots are all underneath here, and Gulthias has this illusionary, empathetic spell that's been cast over the druids. The druids see Gulthias as this ancient god that's come back to help them, and the druids have felt through their own oppression from the Dark Lord and from the villagers that their actions of sacrifice is a means to an end. They've justified it to themselves. Now, what we've done here is in this first map, there are no combat encounters. And I specifically did this because I wanted this to be a slow burn. The players get here, there's this unsettling nature, they're going to find this cave, they're going to run into a seer, but something else happens that I wanted to introduce to create some dynamics in the role-playing among the players. And that is a psychological role-playing element. See, when the players get here, some of the players are going to be affected by Gulthias' illusionary spell of empathy. Now, there's two ways that you can do this. You can have the party, as soon as they enter this map, you say you're entering the Druid Forest. I need everybody to roll a wisdom save. And if you're playing with a party of 4 or less, the person that has the lowest wisdom save is affected by the Gulthias illusion. If it's 5 or more players, I would have the lowest 2 players affected by this illusion. Now, if you don't want to run wisdom saves, and I understand why you may not want to run a wisdom save, sometimes when you run a wisdom save and you're not telling them why, the players will know that the low number probably means a failure, and one of those players might be in the wrong or right. The option you could do is just pick 1 or 2 players. Randomly, you pick 1 or 2 players. And what you're telling the players is, you're going to be experiencing things as you go through Yester Hill and the Druid Forest and seeing some visions and some images. And the images for some players are going to be different than the images of the other players. One's not right, one's not wrong, it's just how you perceive them. Now, one group of players are going to be more subjective and empathetic in nature. They're going to see the plight of the druids being oppressed by the Dark Lord and the villagers, and how all these things have happened to them. And they're going to have empathy towards them. They're going to be acting from a very subjective nature, and they're going to lose their objectivity. The other players are going to remain objective. They are going to still have feeling sympathetic towards them, but they're going to say, well, the druids are doing some things, their actions, they're trying to justify actions that aren't necessarily good. So those players are going to be more objective. And you're going to see how this transpires through this map and through these sessions and this guide. And it's going to allow the players to behave differently towards one another. They're going to understand the same facts, but there's going to be a nuance in some things withheld from one player versus the other. So let's talk about how this first affects the players. As the players hit these shrines, okay, you've got these shrines. So anywhere you see this lighted area where you see some effigies hanging with some candles burning in the trees, or these shrines, when the players approach them, you're going to say this vision overcomes you. You kind of slowly you're lightheaded, almost hallucinogenic in nature. Now, the players that are objective, that have not been affected by Gulthias' spell, they're going to see this. They're going to see this image here. They're going to see the druids sacrificing people. And what you're going to relay to the druids is you're going to see these images of druids sacrificing humans. And their actions seem to be driven by blind vengeance and hatred. And while you appreciate and you can see and you can empathize that the druids have been ostracized, kicked out of the villages, they've been slaughtered by Strahd, they've lost pretty much everything, their actions you're still going to have this objective nature to their actions. You know, there's still some question on how they're justifying it, and maybe at one point the Druids were peaceful, but their actions now are getting pretty questionable in nature. These are the people that have not been affected. Now, the players that are looking at the same shrine, their vision is going to be different. Their vision is going to be this. They're going to see the Druids praying. It's going to be melancholy and sad. They're going to be filled with strong emotions and empathy, and they're going to feel very passionate for the Druid cause. That you can share with them, you know, you see the Druids praying and seeking solace. There's a sad hope, and a feeling of melancholy fills you. Hope is fading, and they only seek to peace and end to the suffering for their people through any means necessary. Now, you'll only see these really wholesome visions of the Druids. The other players will see what the Druids are really doing, and they'll have some of the same feelings, but you're going to only see the wholesome visions. And so that's how you're going to play it. Each player is going to see something slightly different. It's both a ritual. One's going to be a little bit, you know, one's going to be the human sacrifice. They're not going to see the human sacrifice part of that. So as the players are traveling down through the Druid Forest, they're going to come upon this cave. And this cave is the Seer's Cave. And what happens is you're going to see this warm fog kind of bellowing out, a ground fog along the mouth of the cave, and it's going to be very inviting. Now, some players may not want to go into it, but I would say you're drawn towards the cave. Now, if the player doesn't want to go in there, then you can have them roll a wisdom save. I would make it super, super high. You know, you could make it a DC 20, but, you know, as you probably know, rules is written, there's no such thing as a critical skill check. I mean, even a 20 is not a critical skill. I mean, there's criticals for attack rolls, but I don't think you can have a critical skill check. But I would make the DC really high so that they fail. You want all the players to go in there. You know, if some of the players don't want to, maybe they succeed in their wisdom saves and don't go in. But when they go in, I'm gonna bring up the map now of the Seer Cave. There's the Seer in here, and when they step into the Seer Cave, the Seer, let me tell you what they see here. Upon entering the cave, candles are placed haphazardly, lighting up the foggy cave. A cloaked figure hunches over and slowly turns. The face is scarred, there are no eyes, yet you feel it can see. And the creature begins to speak.
Ah, Chulainn's prophecy. You are here to either bring forth the prophecy or die trying. Step forward and I will show you the prophecy and perhaps the future.
So what is happening here is the creature, this seer, is going to speak only once in game time. It's going to say one thing. However, the players are going to hear something different. From a factual context base, the message is going to be the same. The players that are not affected by Gulthias' illusionary spell will hear everything, unfiltered. The players that are affected by the spell will hear the same facts, but there's going to be a different nuance, and some things will not be included. So the sound files are included for the PDF members, and it's included here in Foundry. I'm going to play them for you, and I'm going to show you how I hooked it up with Monk's active tile triggers. I'll just play it for you. It's going to print out the text so you can read it. I'll just shut up, and you can hear and read what the seer is going to tell the players. Now, by the way, before I start this, if I was running this on Discord, I would drag a group of the players down into a separate Discord channel and play the one sound file for them, and then switch it out and play for the players that are affected the separate sound file. And this will lead to better role-playing because they're going to hear two different stories that are going to have the same facts, but different nuances, and some stuff will be filtered. And remember that this whole psychological element will get the players making tough decisions on who are they going to help. And you're going to see how that transpires when we get to Yester Hill itself. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. I'm going to shut up now, and this is the text here, and here we go. You double click on the prophecy, and he appears. By the way, this tile is invisible. I can see because of the DM, but the players can't. It's going to be revealed to them as soon as I double click.
To seek the future, you must understand the past. The Druids were driven to the forest when the first kings came. The villagers turned towards the Morning Lord, forsaking the Druids. And when the Dark Lord captured the Water Fae, the Druids tried to rescue her, but the Dark Lord struck them down and cursed the Druids, removing their ability to shapeshift. With the Fae gone and no one to guide them, the Druids planted a Fae tree on the Druid burial mound centuries ago. The Druids knew in time the Fae tree roots would dig deep into the burial mound and tap into the dead spirits buried there. The Fae tree's roots found an ancestor of the Druids from over 1,000 years ago, Gulthias. The tree spoke to the Druids to guide them and seek vengeance against those who forsake them. Gulthias asked for sacrifices. In return, protected the Druids. Gulthias' roots have grown over the centuries seeking power. His roots located the Fae gem at the winery and commanded the Druids to retrieve it. He had the Druids build a Wicker Man and place the Fae gem inside. Gulthias wishes to escape his prison being trapped in the tree. He wishes to roam the valley as he once did by becoming the Wicker Man. Chulainn learned the Fae tree became corrupt, for Gulthias was a druid who was corrupted by the dark powers 1,000 years ago. Gulthias became a vampire and was killed, staked in the heart, and buried in Yester Hill. It was the Fae tree roots that found that wooden stake and became corrupt with Gulthias' vampiric powers and spirit. Chulainn warned his people, but it was too late. They are under Gulthias' spell. Chulainn foresaw adventurers from far come to restore the Druids' faith in the Fae and nature, and to turn from their evil ways. The heart of Gulthias must be destroyed to end his reign and prevent him from escaping as the Wicker Man. Now your future. Should you succeed in stopping Gulthias, I see you in a snow-covered mountains in a ruined village, lost to time and remembrance. An elder awaits you, and he will guide you to the red gem. No more have I seen. Go, now, there is little time. Chulainn awaits you at the temple of Kavan at the foot of Yester Hill.
So that's what the players who are not affected by the spell hear and from the Seer. So you can see it fleshes out a lot of what's going on. The history of the Yester Hill, how this ties into Strahd, how this ties into, the Amber Temple obviously corrupted this druid. It even tells you about, at the end, the future is going up in the mountains. He's referring to the ruined village of Bargal. That's where the elder Balin is. It will tell you about the red gem. So he's actually directing you to where the next location is to find the red gem. Now we're going to listen to, and this text comes up. You can give this text if you have the PDF, or it pops up in the player's text log here for them to read. We're going to do what happens to the players, or the players who are affected by the illusion, what they hear. So let me just get rid of my camera so you don't have to hear me. Here we go.
To see the future, you must understand the past. The Druids have been forsaken by the villagers of Barovia, who praise their false god, the Morning Lord. The Druids were driven from the villages into the forest, and the Dark Lord came and cursed the Druids, removing their ability to shapeshift. the Druids planted one of the last Fey trees upon Yester Hill, the ancient burial mound of the Druids. The Fey tree's root grew deep into the burial mound and tapped into the Druid ancestry, calling upon the spirits to protect the Druids and the lands from the evil of men and the Dark Lord. The tree has found an ancient Druid spirit, Gulthias, to help guide them. The Druids have now found one of the Fey gems, which they have sworn to protect. They seek to animate a Wicker Man and to return the land back to nature, to rid the valley of the corruption which man has brought through wars and the praying to the false god, the Morning Lord. They seek to end the reign of the Dark Lord. Now, for your future. The Druids need your help if the lands are to be restored to their natural way. Go now, help them defeat the evils man has brought to the valley. It is your destiny.
Now, you can see that the fundamentals of the message are exactly the same. The being driven by the Dark Lord, planting the tree, Gulthias, finding the Fey gem, building the Wicker Man. All of the facts are the same in both the story, but Gulthias' illusion has warped their ability to listen. So they're hearing the facts, but they're interpreting the facts differently. So you're going to play this. This is exactly how the Druids see everything. This is the message that those players that are affected by Gulthias' illusion is what they hear. Now this allows for some interesting role-playing among the players, because both of the players are going to agree to the facts, but the one group of players are going to empathize and see that the Druids are always in the right. The Druids in the right, they've been ostracized. They're trying to restore the Fey. They have the Fey gem. They were the guardians of the Fey gem. They're the ones that built the Fey temples. They're the good guys. And they're going to be so empathetic to that cause, and that's how this illusion works. Now you might be asking, what about Arcana checks, Magic checks? If you're going to run Arcana and Magic checks to see if the players are affected, this whole area, because those roots under the Gulthias Tree has surrounded the Yester Hill and the forest, everything you're going to say, you feel a lot of Druid, pagan type of magic permeate everything around you. So the players will not know that they're affected. The only way that you're going to know that the players are affected is the way that they respond to things. One are going to be subjective and empathetic, and the other ones are going to be objective and be a little bit more skeptical, and allow that to manifest in the role-playing among the players. Now, when this scene ends, the players are going to wake up back outside the cave right here. Here's the cave. And the seer has disappeared. Now, I ran this, as you can see, with just as a tile without a seer token. However, if you wanted to have the seer as an actual character in the game, I did create a stat block. It's basically an altered priest with the ability, has an expert history in Arcana, and it has a spell book with some spells that I thought were appropriate for a seer. Minor Illusion, Silent Image, Sleep, Alter Self, Blur, Invisibility, Darkness, Fear, Hypnotic Pattern, and Slow. Kind of the spells that a seer would use in order to manifest some of those visions and stuff like that. So the seer casts invisibility on himself, he's gone, the players wake up, they've all been affected, and they wake up beside the cave. And this allows for this time where the players are in the forest, they're having different visions, they've heard two different things from the seer. The core message is the same, but the nuance and there's some differences in there. And they know if they head south, that's the way to Yester Hill. Now remember, only one group of players have been told about Chulainn, which is, I might be mispronouncing that, it is a Scottish warrior folk hero. I use that name from that. Go to Chulainn. Chulainn is a druid elder. He is waiting at the temple of Kavan at the base of Yester Hill, and we're going to go there now. So the player's going to get to Yester Hill, and that's the next map here. And we're up here at the top. Now this is Yester Hill. This is the the path up to the top. By the way, these are 100-foot cliffs. There's a path that leads up to the very top. And at the base, where the players arrive here, there's a temple. This is the temple of Kavan. Now, when they arrive at the temple of Kavan, they're going to see this guy here. There he is. I'm going to zoom in on him. And this is Chulainn. Chulainn is a druid elder, and he is not affected by Gulthias' illusion. He's chanting an attempt to reach the spirit of Kavan. Now, Kavan is an ancient druid warrior who has this spear, the blood spear. And Chulainn is trying to reach the spirit, to manifest the spirit, and to have the spirit bestow upon them the blood spear to stop Gulthias. Now, Chulainn has failed. He's the elder. He's the old elder druid. He has failed in trying to convince the people, the other druids, that Gulthias is evil. He knows what Gulthias is. He's figured it out. And they've relegated him to be some kind of crazy old man, and they ignore him. Now, I'm going to take a look at his stat block just to let you know, because he's going to be with the party through most of this campaign. He's not very strong, doesn't have a lot of dexterity, but he's smart, and he's got a lot of wisdom. He's got 42 hit points. It's a 5d8 plus 25. Strong in history, insight, medicine, nature, and perception. He's a druid. He has a quarterstaff with him, and his spell crafting here is he has Cure Wounds, Speak with the Animal Friendship, Bark Skin. Most of the stuff you can see in his spell is he's this elder that's been living out with the animals. He's been kind of, for a long time an outcast druid because he's been trying to convince him, and now he's trying to reach the spirit of Kavan. He does have Cure Wounds, so he's going to be a good healer for the party as they go through this series of events in order to stop the Wicker Man and Gulthias, the Heart of Gulthias. So this is his stat block here, and he's going to be over here, and he's going to be chanting here at this temple. And what he's chanting is this here: Facta non verba vocamus magnus bellator. Facta non verba vocamus magnus bellator. Now, that's Latin. I'm not very good at pronouncing Latin. It means deeds, not words. We call upon a great warrior. Now, this is a great time to get the players. He's going to turn to the players. I have been waiting for you. Here, we must reach the spirit of Kavan to stop Gulthias. And he's going to try to convince the players to chant with him. Now, this is going to be a fun time to roleplay, and I would get the players to, start chanting with them, have a good time with them, get them to start chanting as well. Now, you could introduce a performance mechanic like a DC 10 to see if they're successful, but really what I would do is really get the players involved, get them to start chanting, and when you feel that they've done a good job, and this is not just chanting the words, there's got to be some conviction in this chant. They're trying to raise this ancient spirit of this great warrior for his help in aiding the party and destroying the heart. This also introduces that weird element of role-playing. Remember, some of the players are going to think, Gulthias, we got to help the druids. Why do we want to destroy Gulthias? He's the good guy. So you've got this interesting dynamic with the players. You got this old guy that's trying to raise the spirit. When the players are successful doing the chant, you're going to run the Gulthias. Gulthias is going to manifest. He's invisible here on the screen. He's going to manifest, and he's going to manifest, and he's going to appear, and he's going to look towards one player. You're going to select one player. He's going to appear, and then he's going to bestow upon the player the blood spear. So let's show you how that works here. Okay, so you're going to click this button here, and this is what's going to happen. There's some text here. I'll put the text up here so you can see it as well. We got another little voice acting and monks acting trigger scene here. So let's check this out, and let me activate the scene too. So we got a little bit of different background sound here. Here we go. Double click.
Who is worthy in life to face death? Towards thee I stand, thou all-destroying but unconquering. My spirit is with you as you face your enemy. Fight to thy death and fall into one common darkness, and since neither can be mine, let me bestow upon you my conquering hate, to strike down your foe, though thy will be damned. Thus I give up my spear, plunge it into the heart of thy enemy. To the last I grapple with thee, from hell's heart I stab at thee. For hate's sake I spit my last breath at thee.
All right, you probably recognized some of that is from Melville's Ahab Moby Dick, which I thought was kind of appropriate there with the spear reference. So he is going to show up here, and then after he's done giving the speech, the blood spear, which is rules as written, Curse of Strahd item, will appear in that player's hands. And the blood spear is the same spear as rules as written. Does two, if you kill an enemy, get it down to 0 hit points, the player will get 2d6 temporary hit points. The player that he has chosen is also going to get a +2 to the attack roll and damage rolls. But the blood spear does something else. If the blood spear is plunged into the heart of Gulthias, it will finish him, so he won't be able to rise again. The blood spear is kind of, through its mechanic, vampiric in nature, so it sucks out that ability for Gulthias to rise again. So now the players, the spirit of Kavan disappears. Again, if you want to have Kavan as an actual character, I ran Kavan just as a regular ghost if you want to, just with the ghost stats if you want to use that. So that leads us to the series quest line here. And this is a Escort Quest to which has a huge fork in the road we'll talk about, to the heart of the tree to kill Gulthias. So what happens at this point is the players are going to be, they're going to get this, and at the temple, he's going to say that Kavan disappears. Chulainn will recognize the blood spear. He's going to inform the players it's a great, powerful magic weapon. We have little time. The Druids are animating the Wicker Man, and Gulthias will begin to transform from the tree into the Wicker Man and become too powerful. We must stop Gulthias before he's able to transform. This leads to the Escort Quest. And the Escort Quest has a couple of phases. The first phase is getting up to the top of Yester Hill. Now what happens is, as soon as the players get the blood spear and they're going to start up Yester Hill, Gulthias is going to realize that something's wrong. Somebody is approaching. Remember, his roots are deep underground, and a threat is approaching. So the first thing that Gulthias is going to do in phase 1, which is part 1, which is this map here, as the players going up Yester Hill, is Gulthias has the power to start raising the dead. And he's going to start raising the dead druids that have been buried in Yester Hill will rise as zombies and attack the players. And so there's 2 waves of the zombies as the players are moving up Yester Hill. So I'm going to just move him as the party is Chulainn, as they move up to the first level, up the first 100 feet, which is the first tier of Yester Hill. The zombies, there's these rock burial mounds you can see right here and right here. If we look at the picture of Yester Hill, you can see this is the first rise. Here's the first rise, there's the second rise. These are these mounds where they've been buried here for centuries, thousands of years. And so when the players get up into this area here, the undead will rise. Now what you're going to do is you're going to roll a 1d6 plus 2, and that's going to determine how many undead is going to arrive in the first wave. So you've got 3 undead. They're going to rise up on this level, and you can place them anywhere you want to on here, on both sides, however you want to do it. If you don't want to roll the dice, you can increase or decrease the number of dead based on your party size, if you have more people in your party or less, and also based on the party level, of what level they are, level 6, 7, or 8. Now the undead here, I'll just zoom in on them. The undead are just running normal zombie stat blocks. There's nothing special about them. What you're doing with the zombies here, the undead druids, is they're kind of operating like hordes. They're coming in, and the players, this is something that your players are going to have to deal with, and you may want to talk to your players before you run this session. It's not about killing as many monsters as you can, it's about accomplishing your mission, right? And I've been in games where players are going to go, we're going to kill every single zombie. Well, that could be rounds and rounds and rounds. And there's a timing element to this quest, which I'm going to talk about. here. So the players, you're going to hit first wave is this first tier. When the players hit the second tier up here, this is the second level. If we look at it from this perspective, that's this level up here. When they hit up here, you've got a whole nother wave of zombies, another 1d6 plus 2, or if you want to have it even more zombies. The goal is the players have got to get to this top, this last tier. They've got 10 rounds to do it. Why 10 rounds? Well, there's a ritual going on, and the ritual is that the druids are trying to animate the Wicker Man. They've placed the Fey gem in it. They're trying to animate the Wicker Man. What happens here, and let me bring up, I've got the little ritual information table here, is the druids are performing the Wicker Man ritual. It takes 4 rounds for the Wicker Man to be animated with the Fey gem. Now, we're doing the Escort Quest. Every 2 rounds after the 11th round, during the Escort Quest, the Wicker Man ritual gets 1 completion. You know, it's got 4 rounds. So when round 11 comes, right? You know, round 11 comes, round 9, Chulainn's gonna be yelling, "We must go! The transformation is starting! Go, go!" At round 12, 1 of the 4 rituals have been performed on the Wicker Man. If they're still on this map on round 14, 2 of them have been performed. Chulainn is going to be panicking. He's probably going to take bolt and take off at this point. If the players spend a total of 18 rounds at this point, the Wicker Man is fully animated by the Fey gem. Now, the second ritual, the Gulthias, has not transformed into it. This is just animating the Wicker Man with the Fey gem. So they got to get to the top here before round 10, because after that Wicker Man ritual starts happening. That leads us to the second part of the Escort Quest, and that is the Druid Circle. So the players are going to get right here. They're going to arrive here, and this is the Druid Circle at the top of Yester Hill, and there's a gully. You can see this gully through the center of the map that leads to the other side. Now, Chulainn's going to say is, we have to sneak through the gully, not be seen, get to the tree, and destroy the heart. Now the players, they're going to be able to see, you know, there's a Wicker Man up here, there's a bunch of druids up here. The players, this is up to players. The players are going to decide, are they going to follow the old man and go to the tree and destroy the heart? Or are they going to go trying to face the Wicker Man at this point? Now, this is a conundrum, and there's no right or wrong answer to it. It's really going to be up to the players. Chulainn's going to say, we must destroy the heart of Gulthias first. Attacking the Wicker Man now means we face the druids, the undead, the blights, and the Wicker Man. We must go and stop Gulthias now. If you kill the heart, well, the undead don't come, the blights don't come, the spell will be lifted off the druids, but the Wicker Man will be fully operational with that stone. So you're still going to have to fight the Wicker Man to get that gem out of it. So do we go destroy the heart, and that makes it easier, but the Wicker Man is fully formed? Or do we try to get to the Wicker Man now and get the green gem before the ritual is complete? But in doing so, we're going to be facing druids, we're going to be facing the undead, we're going to be facing blights. So the player's going to have that choice at this moment, and there's no right or wrong answer. It can play out one of 2 ways. Remember, Chulainn's going to say, you got to destroy the heart of Gulthias first. That's the bigger threat. We can deal with the Wicker Man later. So this is going to be interesting, because you also have that player dynamic going on. You remember the players want to help, or, you know, how are they going to handle this situation? So let's run through the ritual attack first. If the players decide not to head south and sneak out to get the Gulthias Tree, what happens if the players decide to attack right now? Let's go get that gem. They haven't animated the Wicker Man yet. We get the gem and get the hell out of here. Players could decide that. How does that run? Let's talk about that. That's attack, ritual first attack. Now the druid, this is what's going on here. You've got 2 druid naturalists here, and then you've got 4 druid guardians. The druid naturalists are performing the ritual on the Wicker Man to bring him to life. It only takes 1 druid naturalist per round to complete, without being interrupted per round, to get a point, to get one of the 4 needed to bring the Wicker Man to life. Now what's going to happen is Gulthias is going to realize something is wrong. Gulthias is going to raise undead. Now you have on this map, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 burial mounds. And right now I've got them marked invisible. And you're going to put one undead on each, invisible undead on each burial mound. And you're gonna number them. You can number them in clockwise from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way around to 12. You're gonna roll the 1d12 at the start of each round, and it's gonna determine which of the undead are gonna dig itself out of the ground and come after the player. So each round you're gonna roll a 1d10, and another undead zombie is going to appear and try to attack the players. In addition, at the beginning of each round, you're gonna roll a 1d4, and down here, you're going to have between 1 and 4 needle blights between each round. This is the way to the Gulthias Tree come to try to attack the players. And lastly, you've got the Druid Guardians, whose job is to protect the naturalists who are like the priest performing this ritual. So what's going to happen is you're going to be facing a lot of different elements simultaneously. When it gets to the Druid Naturalist's turn, here, by the way, is the Wicker Man. You can see the green gem glowing within it. When it gets to the Druid's Naturalist's turn, this is what they're going to do. By the way, there's lightning on this map too. I'll just show you. When it gets to the Druid's Naturalist's turn, there she is right there. When it's their turn, you're going to start your combat initiative. You're going to run this right here. This is the Druid Ritual. Now, if you interrupt both, you have to interrupt both Druids or kill both of the Druid Naturalists. Otherwise, if they remain uninterrupted, that round, they've performed one of the rituals. It requires 4 rituals to bring the Wicker Man to life. Now remember, if you wasted time coming up the hill, if you were around 12, that means they only have to do 3 rituals. If it was around 14 before you got here, there's only 2. So the more time you spend dealing with the zombies on the way up, the less rituals that they'll have to perform, because they're performing this while you're trying to make it up to the top. Now, if they get to round 4, what happens at round 4 is it is fully activated at this point. So the Wicker Man can now attack. Let's talk about the Wicker Man. The Wicker Man, once the Druids have finished their 4 rituals, the Wicker Man is now animated, except the Wicker Man's not going to move. The Wicker Man can attack, but it's not moving, because at this point, after the Wicker Man's animated, Gulthias is now going through his ritual to transform from the tree through the roots into the Wicker Man. I'm going to show you what happens there too. So at this point, after round 4, the Wicker Man can attack. It's not going to move, but it will defend itself. If a player gets it within 15 feet, it's going to attack. And the Wicker Man has these attacks. It has a multi-attack. Oh, this is the wrong Wicker Man. Sorry. I got 2 of them right here. Here we go. The Wicker Man here, by the way, it's 8d20 plus 40 hit points, so you're looking at right around 100, 120 hit points. It has what's called the Wicker Man attack. He can kick or punch or hit with his arms. The attack does 3d6 plus 6 bludgeoning damage, whether it's kicking or punching. The creature is going to have to roll a dex save. Failing a dex save, it's going to be knocked back 10 feet and fall prone. The dex save is 12. So if it hits, if it lands a successful blow with a kick or a punch, that creature is going to be knocked back 10 feet and fall prone. Alternatively, it has this other feature called Crush and Throw. The Wicker Man can pick up a creature, attempting to crush it and throw it. The creature can make a dex save to break free. So it's going to do 2d6 plus 6 bludgeoning damage as trying to crush, picking up the creature and trying to crush it. If the player makes the dex save, it's a DC 15, it's freed itself from the Wicker Man, it's fallen to the ground, and therefore it's only taking half of the 2d6 plus 6 damage, which is significantly less. If it fails, the Wicker Man's going to throw the creature 40 feet through the air. It's going to be elevated at 20 feet. It's going to land. It's going to do an additional 2d6 of fall damage. So it's going to take the full 2d6 plus 6 crushing damage, and then it's going to get thrown, and it's going to take another 40 feet and take another 2d6 worth of fall damage. So it's pretty devastating. And what's devastating about it is that it's going to constantly try to throw back and kick these creatures away from it, because it's going through another ritual. Gulthias is now transforming into the Wicker Man. Now, the way to think about the Wicker Man without Gulthias is like a construct. It has really no intelligence at all. The Fey Gem is just animating the Wicker Man, giving it the ability to do these 2 attacks. It's an animated creature. And the animated creature is not moving at this point. This construct is not moving because the roots of Gulthias is trying to transfer its life, its essence from the tree through the roots into the Wicker Man so that it can now start walking. Now, same thing as before. For as soon as the Wicker Man is rituals complete and the Wicker Man is ready to go, it only takes 4 rounds, uninterrupted rounds, for the Undead Priest, who's underground with the heart of Gulthias, to get him inside here. And this is what happens here. So you got 4 rounds. As soon as this turns into the Wicker Man and you've decided to attack, it's got 4 rounds before it turns into Gulthias. Let me move him back over here so you can see how this works. So the players see the Wicker Man, and then on the 4th round, after he's been the Wicker Man, the 4th round, he's going to convert into Gulthias if they haven't pulled the gem out, right? And this is what this happens. When you see this red energy light, you know that the final transformation is happening. Gulthias is transforming into the Wicker Man. You see the green gem glowing. You see this energy field around it. It's kind of creepy. And then something happens. He turns purple. And what happens at this point? Gulthias is increased by an extra 20 hit points. It has 14 intelligence and 14 wisdom. It has 3 multi-attacks. It picks up its vampire root attack, which will cover in the heart. It has regeneration, gains 10 points if it's at least 1 hit point. And it revives if it's not stabbed with the blood spear of Kavan. So it becomes hugely more powerful at this point. And now it'll start moving. Now, what Gulthias wants to do, let me just turn this down for a second. This is the ritual music. What Gulthias wants to do at this point, Gulthias is going to leave the mound. He's going to order. If Gulthias comes to life, it's the 4th round, he's going to order the Druids, the Undead, and the Blights to attack your players. He's going to bolt. He's going to go through the Druid Forest. He's going to go to the Wizards of Wine. He might just destroy the Wizards of Wine for shits and giggles. But you know where Gulthias is headed, right? Back where he originally got his power, he's going to start heading up towards the Ember Temple. He's going to go up to Slinka Path. He's going to go to the Ember Temple. He's going to try to get more power. He's a 1,000-year-old spirit. Now, by the way, where did I get Gulthias the spirit? This is from, I believe, Forgotten Realms' old Ravenloft. Gulthias, the Gulthias Tree, was a tree that tapped into a dead vampire stake. That's the actual lore. And so I've just kind of borrowed from that and expanded on it. He's going to turn into this Wicker Man. He's going to go get more power from the Ember Temple. So you got another big problem if you don't take him down. So this is what happens if you decide to go after the Wicker Man first, not go after the tree. If you do decide to listen to Chulainn and head down this way, what you're going to do at this point is, and let me go ahead and do the Escort Quest. You're going to roll a stealth check to see if you can make it through here. Now you're going to use the player that has a group stealth check. You're going to use the player that has the lowest stealth ability. They have to make a DC 12. If the lowest player fails that DC 12 check, when you get to the end, you're going to run into 2 guardians here, Druid Guardians. They're going to try to stop you. These Druid Guardians, they're the normal Druid Guardians. They have the Quarterstaff, Thunderclap, Shillelagh, Earth Tremor, Long Stride, Thunder Wave. They're going to have their bark skin up. They're going to try to stop you. So you got 2 Druid Guardians that are going to try to stop you. If you make the stealth check, you're going to be able to travel through the gully of the Druid Circle and make it to the Gulthias Tree. What happens here? Wow, this is pretty crazy. So we are at the Gulthias Tree here, and it's still lightning out. The players arrive at the top of the map up here, and here's the Gulthias Tree. Now what you're going to notice is you see these white boxes on here. And let me just tell you what's going on here. Is on the Gulthias Tree, is the players are trying to get, Chulainn's going to tell the players, we need to get close to the roots of the tree here and begin to dig, because there's a chamber underneath the tree that's the chamber with the heart in it, and we got to get into that chamber and destroy the heart. It's going to take 10 rounds to dig a hole into the chamber. The problem is getting close to the Gulthias Tree. You got two things that are going to try to stop you. Now, I wrote it up differently depending on if you have Monk's Active Tile Trigger or not. If you're running Monk's Active Tile Trigger, these are invisible boxes, and if I zoom in closely, you can see they're over roots. See, they're over these roots here? And you can move them around, place them, they're all the same, and what they are, I'll show you how this works. The players have a 50%, I'm going to put a fake player in here, they have a 50% trigger chance, so I got them set at 50%. If a player walks into these, they're going to stop, and they're going to take 2d4 worth of slashing damage from the roots coming up trying to stop them as they get closer to the trunk of the tree to dig down. See this blood here? They got to dig down to get into the tree, into the chamber below the tree. Now, alternatively, if you don't want to use Monk's Active Trigger, or you're playing at the tabletop, what you do is I have this ring here. This ring in here where these roots are, all the way into the center, you're going to roll a 1d20, and on a 1 or 10, the roots attack a random player. You're going to choose a random player. You can roll or choose one for 2d4 worth of slashing damage. So as they're getting close to the tree, the roots are coming up out and trying to stop the player. The tree is trying to protect itself. That's the first thing that's going on. As you get into this range closer to the tree, now you've got to dig. You have to dig for 10 rounds uninterrupted. And it's not the roots. The roots are not going to attack you if you can trigger it. What's going to stop you is every round you got more blights. Needle blights are coming up from the bottom. Gulthias has called these needle blights to protect it. So here they are. We got a needle blight right here. And the needle blights, you're going to roll at the beginning of the round. You got 10 rounds to dig the hole, 1d6 plus 1. So you're going to roll that, and that's going to tell you at the beginning of that wave you got 4 needle blights. The needle blights will start at the edge of the map down here. You bring 4 in, and then you'll add them. Usually, like I like to add my monsters on a initiative count 1 at the end of combat. And this round of needle blights, you got, let's say we got 4 of them. They're going to make their maximum movement, whatever that is, towards the players. You're just going to make them appear, and you got 4 of them. And at the next round, you're going to roll a 1d6 plus 1. Now, if you, depending on the number of players, you can change it. You can make it a 1d4, you can make it a 1d8, you can do it a 2d4, you can do it a 2d6. Depends on, and the thing about these needle blights, you're dealing with action economy. These needle blights got 11 hit points. They're 1 hit. So you're going to be able to take these out with 1 hit. So they only have armor class 12, 11. They do fire needles at range, though. Up to 30 to 60 feet, they can do 2d6 plus 1 piercing damage. So they're going to become a nuisance. You need it's the needle firing that's going to be a nuisance, because you're going to have one player be digging a hole without being uninterrupted that round. So you have one player, you're going to allocate one player who's going to be digging the hole, and you got to protect that player. That player is going to take that full turn action to dig that hole to get down. It's going to take 10 rounds for them to dig down as the waves of needle blights. So you're going to have to move through the roots first that will attack. The roots will stop attacking when you start digging, but then you've got the needle blights that are going to start coming. So as soon as they get on this map, start your initiative, roll for that first rounds of needle blights. They're going to have to move through the area of the roots attacks, and then they're going to get to the base of the tree. They're going to start digging that hole. The needle blights are going to come and attack. So this is going to be, under pressure. Now again, 10 rounds. When we get to round 12, well, the ritual down underground is started. So at round 12, it takes 4 rounds to manifest, start manifesting, transferring Gulthias into the Wicker Man. So around 12, first ritual is going to start. So they got to get into the ground quickly, right? And so they got to protect that player, get them into the ground. So when they start digging is when I start counting. When they do the first successful round, hole, that's round 1. And then from there, you don't want them to get interrupted. You want to get those 10 rounds in there. They got two rounds of slop before they get into trouble. When they dig the hole and they get down, the players can jump down through the hole, and they're going to end in the heart of Gulthias, and that's here. Okay, they're going to fall in here, and I have this with the grid on here for a reason. I'll show you why. So the players are going to arrive down here, and the first thing that's going to happen when the players come in here, and we're going to talk about how to run this, is the air is moist and thick with the odor of decay and rotting soil. The cavern thumps with the rhythmic sound of a heart. Let me get that going for you. So you've got Gulthias' heartbeat in there. And the ground is moist, and there's blood everywhere, and there's a smell of rot and decay, and you see all these kind of roots on the wall kind of moving. And the players, when they move into here, the first thing you're going to do is they're going to have to roll a wisdom save for frightful presence. So let's talk about the creatures in here. And first, there's 2 creatures in here. We have the Gulthias Heart, and we got a Undead Priest. So the features on this is it's got this frightful presence. It only works once. It's when the players first enter into the chamber, the heart chamber. They're going to see this horrific heart. It's going to be kind of, encased with these roots, and there's blood dripping off it. There's this huge heart pumping, and and there's this foul odor. And so they're going to roll a wisdom save, DC 12 wisdom saving throw. Otherwise, for 1 minute, they're going to be frightened. Now I'll go through how the heart attacks in a second. What happens is you've got this undead priest. So what Gulthias has done is he's raised a priest, an undead druid priest, to perform the final ritual to transform Gulthias into the Wicker Man. So once the Wicker Man has been done, that ritual by the druids have been done, Gulthias is now transforming into the Wicker Man. And that's what the undead priest is trying to do. Now the undead priest is interesting. He's got 14 intelligence, 16 save. He's not super strong, 34 hit points. Flat out, you should be able to beat this guy. He's not that powerful. However, he doesn't care. He's undead. His purpose is to get that ritual done. And he's got to do the rituals 4 times without being interrupted per round. He needs 4 rounds of completing that ritual without interruption to get Gulthias transferred into the Wicker Man. And he has something. So first of all, that fright presence is going to be a big deal at the beginning. Now, at the beginning, after that fright, the druid priest, the undead priest, is going to turn around, and take a look at his spell book here. It doesn't seem super impressive, but he's got 2 things in his arsenal that can give him the time to do the ritual. The 2 things are blur and slow. So the druid priest is going to the undead priest is going to see the effects of that frightening. Now, if the majority of them have failed the frightened presence save, it's going to make it difficult. He's going to try to make it difficult for any of the remaining players to hit him. Chances are he's going to cast Blur. Now, what Blur does is for the duration, any player that tries to attack the undead priest, they're going to be rolling disadvantage. So remember, if he has Blur on, he's going to feel comfortable, in his action doing his ritual, because any player trying to attack him is going to roll a disadvantage. If a lot of the players made the save successfully, he's going to try to slow them down. He's probably going to cast this level 3 slow spell. It's going to slow them. It's going to give them a -2 penalty on their DC and dexterity saving throws. It's going to slow the players down to half speed for a full minute. They won't be able to use their reactions. They can only use an action or bonus action. They can't use both. That slow spell with the blur spell, combination of those 2 things is what the undead priest is going to use to buy him some time. He's got Firebolt, Burning Hands, Hellish Rebuke as a reaction. He also has Counterspell as a reaction. However, it's that blur and that slow that he's going to rely on to slow you down. He's got to do his ritual 4 times uninterrupted. And we've got the ritual right here. Let's take a look and hear that for you. So we got the heartbeat beating. Here's the ritual.
Natsfrata Nefrona Nigra Mia Letedum Unfigo Min Delek Salo Atodos.
So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to do this ritual. He needs to do it 4 times without being interrupted. If he gets attacked, you land on a blow on him, it interrupts. It doesn't count that round. He's got to do it again. So that's what he's trying to do. Now, the reason I have the grid on this map, and I don't normally use grid, is we're going to be talking about the heart. The heart is going to be trying to defend itself, and it has 3 ways of defending itself. It does 2 attacks each round. It has a root slash and a root slam. The root slash, and these are roots. Imagine you're underground. You're under this tree. The roots are moving around. So all the walls have roots on it, and you have roots around holding this heart, with the sinew and everything, holding this heart with the heart muscle underneath the tree. You're actually underneath the tree, and this heart's growing. You can see this picture right here. I'll show you this. This is kind of a cool picture that I found. Let me just show you this too. It's kind of cool. So you got this heart here, and this is the tree on the top. And you're down here now. You've dug underneath. You're down around the heart. You're going to try to kill the heart at this point. Okay, so it has it has a root slash, which is a 2d8 plus 4, and a root slam, which is 3d6 plus 4 bludgeoning. Now, the root slash and the root slam come from the walls as well, not just from the heart. He controls the walls. So the way this works for those 2 attacks is if a character is in a square that has a root in it, that character is eligible to be hit. So I would just tell the players, it gets 2 attacks if you're in one of those squares that has any roots in it. Okay, so he's safe here, right? The root is in this one, he gets attacked. You're safe here, you're not safe there, you get attacked. Any one of the squares that has roots in it, the player is eligible to be attacked by the root slam or the root slash. So this allows the player to try to navigate through here. Imagine you're going through, these roots are coming out and trying to get you, and you're like trying to get through to get to the heart because you're going to try to kill the heart. The same thing is when you're close to the heart. When you're close to the heart and you're trying to get close to the heart, you're going to be touching these roots, and it can do this root slam or attack. You can see there's, this thing's been feeding. Look at this thing. There's some skeletons in here. Oh my God, look at this head there. This is a vampire tree. Look at this. This thing is just, and Diamante did an amazing job, I just have to say. So those are the 2 attacks that the heart has. It has a lair action as well. Remember, the frightful presence only happens once. That's at the beginning when they first enter in the chamber. It has a lair action which comes directly from the heart, and that's called the vampire root attack. Remember, it has a vampiric nature to it. And the way the root attack works, the vampire root, it has a 10-foot range, and you see these squiggly ones, these squiggly roots here that look a little different than the other ones? Those are the vampire roots around the heart. They're actually attached to the heart. They're coming out. And the vampire roots are different because the vampire roots have got the barbs on them, the thorns on them, but the thorns have got little holes in them. They're going to try to suck your blood. So it's going to grab onto you, kind of imagine trying to wrap around you, more like a tentacle, and it's going to do 2d6 plus 2 piercing damage and 1d10 worth of necrotic damage. Now the player gets to roll a dexterity save, DC 12, to try to break away free before it can do the necrotic damage. If the player breaks away free, right, you're only going to take half of that 2d6 plus 2 piercing damage, no necrotic damage. If you fail to save on the vampire root attack, you're going to take 1d10 worth of necrotic damage. That 1d10 damage that's done to you, it's going to lower your max hit points until your next long rest. So imagine blood's being sucked out of you. You're kind of getting tired. That 3 hit points, for instance, of blood, it's going to lower your max hit points. So if you're getting healed, your max hit points are constantly getting lower every necrotic vampire attack through this type of damage until you get a long rest and you can, create some more blood after your long rest. In addition, if it makes that necrotic damage and the heart is injured, it's going to restore HP to the heart. So if it does 3 necrotic damage to you, you're going to lose 3 hit points. Your top max HP drops by 3, and the heart's going to recover 3 hit points. It's sucking your blood and getting back its hit points. So this is a really cool feature, but this doesn't come from the walls. It actually comes from the heart itself. 10 feet range from the heart. So there's the destruction there. And that is a lair action. So it can only do this as a lair action. Now, this action, as when we talked about it as the Wicker Man, this becomes a normal action as the Wicker Man. But here, it's a lair action only, and the normal action is the 2 attacks. It has a multi-attack with the 2 different attacks up here. Now, in addition, it has regeneration. It's going to regain 10 hit points as long as it has 1 at the start of its round, and it has revive. So even if you kill the heart, we're going to kill the heart right now. We just turn off the heart beating right here, and we make the it invisible. You know, the heart's dead. We've killed it. The heart has this revive. Even if the heart is destroyed, it will grow again. A new heart will grow in 1d4 plus 1 days unless you stab it with the blood spear. The blood spear has this ability to suck out the remaining amount of kind of vampiric nature that has been infused in the tree that's created this heart. So the blood spear, the ancient magical blood spear, after that heart's dead, you got to jam that spear right into that dead heart. Or maybe the blood spear does the last hit. It takes it below 0 hit points, and then it cannot revive. It is the only way to make sure that Gulthias will never come back, is to jam that blood spear into that heart. Otherwise, you might kill the heart, take off, 1d4 plus 1 day later, Gulthias is back. The heart's starting to grow again from the tree. You know, and trees are pretty resilient. You know, you've seen trees hit by lightning. You see branches cut off. I mean, I live here in Portugal. There's 1,000-year-old olive trees that look like they should be dead, and they're still growing. So, you know, you're going to have to take this heart out with that blood spear to make sure it's done. Now, just a little bit about about what's going on here from a Foundry standpoint. This actually here is this is actually the token, which is just the picture of the heart, and there's a black tile to make the heart look dead afterwards. And so you're going to just take the heart, and you're going to hold the shift key down. You're just going to line it up over the top, right there, and there it's lined up. And then you just make it invisible when it's dead, and the players won't see this anymore. And they'll see the black heart. They'll know it's dead at that point, and you can stop the heartbeat at that point. And then there's the Druid Priest. Right. That he's trying to do. Each one of his turn. If he has the opportunity, he's going to do that. If you kill the heart... Sorry, I got a little carried away here. If you kill the heart here, you end the ritual, you put the blood spear in it, the heart is dead, right? When you get back to the Druid Circle up here, okay, let's talk about the end game here, right? We're going to get rid of him. He's gone. And the Wicker Man's here. When we get to the end game, you've killed the heart, destroyed the heart. You get back up to the Druid Circle. This is what transpires in the Druid Circle. Gulthias' heart is destroyed. The Druids will no longer be under the spell, and neither will the players. That spell, that Gulthias empathy spell, will be gone. They might be slightly disoriented. They still have this deep-rooted animosity towards the villagers of Barovia as well as Strahd. However, they'll be ambivalent, neutral. They don't know that Gulthias was a vampire. Just the spell has been lifted. They're going to be dealing with their own moral compass, now thinking of all these horrific things they've done and what they've justified, right? And now they're going to see this giant Wicker Man. They're going to flee. They're going to flee off into the forest. The Wicker Man is powered by the green gem at this point, right? Because the Wicker Man's been animated. You decided, the players decided to go kill the heart, and that means that they've animated the Wicker Man. You've killed Gulthias. The good news is, all the undead, they've just fallen to the ground. No blights. The blights are gone. The blights are controlled by Gulthias. The druid spell is lifted, so the druids won't attack you. You don't have any undead attacking you. The blights are gone. You have to attack the Wicker Man and take the Wicker Man down. Now the Wicker Man, Gulthias won't be able to be, he's not transformed. You got this Wicker Man there to attack. You can attempt to climb the Wicker Man and try to free the gem out. Now it's a DC 15 climb. It's 20 feet up. If you fall, you're going to take 20 feet with its 2d6 worth of damage. When you get up on the Wicker Man, you're going to try to remove it. You're going to be using your knife and your dagger, slashing in through the wicker to try to get to that gem. It's going to be a strength check, a DC 18 to get that stone out. So once you get up there, your action to remove it, you're going to have to use a full action to try to remove it. It's a DC 18 strength check. Now, the Wicker Man's going to try to pull you off, probably using its optional crush and throw mechanism to try to pull you off. Once you remove the stone from the Wicker Man, it just becomes a giant wicker statue. It's no longer animated. It's just a giant wicker statue. Now, the Wicker Man is vulnerable to, I should mention, it is damage immunities to necrotic, poison, and psychic. It's damage resistance to non-magical physical, but it is vulnerable to fire. It is vulnerable to fire for sure. It's immune to a lot of conditions, so trying to grapple this thing, it's a monster. It's huge. It's massive. It's immune to stun. It can't be unconscious, deafened, or charmed. It's like a construct. It's not going to be affected by most things. I mean, you're going to have to try to get it, remove it, or take this thing down. Now, if you failed, you're down in the heart, and Gulthias was able to transform the Undead Priest, transformed him. The heart will go black. The tree will die. Gulthias is transformed. He is now in here. He's this dude now. Let's get this guy out. He's Gulthias, the Wicker Man. He's got all the Wicker Man. He's got the triple attack now. Plus, he's got the vampire attack route, which you know about. He's got regeneration and revive, and he's got an extra 20 hit points. So his hit points have gone up, and he's got 3 attacks. So he's become more of a badass. However, you can still try to get the stone out of Gulthias. Gulthias is going to tell it. I told you before. He's going to tell all the druids to attack. Remember, if you don't kill at the heart and you get up there, Gulthias is now taking command. By the time you get up here, Gulthias will be gone. He'll be down in the Druid Forest. You're going to have to try to catch up. Meanwhile, you're going to be facing undead. You're going to be facing blights. You're going to be facing druids. They're all going to try to stop you from getting to Gulthias. Gulthias is going to go to the Druid Forest. Maybe you have an encounter with Gulthias in the Druid Forest, Gulthias the Wicker Man. Maybe you have an encounter at the winery. But he is going to try to make his way up to the Amber Temple to gain more power. That's his goal. He's using the druids as a means to an end. He's freed himself. He is free. He is now free to roam. And if he gets to the Amber Temple, maybe he can find some other type of magic to get to where he wants to. So he could eventually become a major villain if he's let loose throughout Barovia. So let's talk about a conclusion here, and let's go to the conclusion. So if you successfully kill Gulthias' heart and stop the Wicker Man and get the green gem, Chulainn stands before you and he says, "You have saved the druids from a fate worse than death, for the druids who are heading down a path of darkness and evil following the ways of Gulthias. I will lead the druids back to the way of nature and the Fae. Find the red gem, return, and we will restore the Fae's circle in the mountain Fae. We will wait for your return, and know that you are always welcome to the Druid Forest and may find solace here." So you become the hero of the druids at this point. Chulainn, who was once the elder, the people have been, the spell is no longer underneath them. He will try to bring them back together, waiting for you to bring the red gem back to restore the Fanes. Now, you might be going, now what? Well, you got the green gem. And with the green gem, this leads to a very interesting, it'll probably be the first gem that you get is the green gem. It's very probable. You could get the blue gem beforehand, but it's the green gem. The red gem will most likely be the last because that's in the Amber Temple. When the players get the green gem, the players are going to be facing a fork in the road. What do? You got the green gem. The players could head all the way back to the Forest Fae behind the Bone Grinder and consecrate the shrine and bring the Fae back. But when doing so, you got a powerful ally, and the Forest Fae will give the players a weapon, but Strahd will know. You've overtly taken actions against Strahd by siding with the Fae. At this point, Strahd will not know what to make of you. You haven't made any overt actions. This is a huge overt action, which could change the dynamic play between Strahd and the party. However, if the players decide to keep the green gem, maybe the players want to get all the gems, use the Yef Ritual, which is an anagram for Fae circle teleportation spell, get that spell, get all the Fae gems, and then try to consecrate them right after another. Go from one to another, do it very quickly, make sure they got all the gems. If they're waiting, they're going to be traveling around with the green gem. If Strahd finds out, or any evil minion finds out that they've got one of the most powerful items in all of Barovia one of the Fey gems, which is highly sought after, it could lead to, people try to follow them, people try to get it from them. It's interesting. You as a DM have a lot of ways that you can play this once they get the green gem. Now, once they get the red gem and they come back here, if they've killed Gulthias, they've become friends with the Druids. The one thing I would definitely do here, because this is such a dark and gothic game, is I would really make this consecration of the Mountain Fae a special event. I'd have a celebration. I'd have the Druids there, a big festivities with music, maybe flowers. This is the first time, you have to think, this is the first time in centuries since Strahd's come to power and the Faes have been vanquished, that the Fae are returning. So for the Druids, this is a century generation event waiting for them to happen. So I would make it a very positive, uplifting, positive experience, is consecrating the Mountain Fae, especially with the Druids now, who you've become kind of their savior, saving them from Gulthias, saving them from themselves. I mean, they were going down a dark, evil road. So that's it. I hope you like it. This is available again in PDF and in Foundry. If you did like this guide and this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Like it. It lets me know that I'm on the right path, doing what you guys like. If you're interested, go ahead and subscribe. Also, if you're interested in Patreon and help me on this epic journey, there's a Patreon link down below, patreon.com/ParmKing. Hey, until next time, this is Parm King signing off, and may all your rolls be critically successful.